Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and I'm glad to be here with everybody. Um, I am sorry, I only been doing this once a month, so I gotta catch up. Welcome to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, Program Director at the Way Out. We are an intensive outpatient program. We're located here locally in Santa Clarita on the corner of Plum Canyon and Bouquet Canyon. Come on up there and pay us a visit. We're over there in the same shopping center as the La Casina and the Vincenzo's 7-Eleven on the same side down there at the end. So drop on by and pay us a visit, and or give us a call. We are at 296-4444. Check out our awesome website. We are at the wayoutrecoveryscv.com. And if you're sitting here today, and this is the first time that you've ever heard this show, our show is all about helping people recover from various issues that they're going through. Our program is primarily a substance abuse or substance use disorder treatment center. However, people that come to us generally have a multitude of issues. We are equipped to work with people and help people who suffer from mental health issues as well. And we also work with adolescents, teenagers, and their families, as well as adults. And so if you're sitting out there and you or someone you love has a problem with drugs and alcohol or mental health issues, or are struggling with any of the various teen issues, please give us a call. If it ends up that we are not the right fit for you, we will absolutely help you find a place and make sure that you get some appropriate referrals and get the help that you need. The hardest part of the recovery process is asking for help, but also asking for help is the first step. And again, if you're out there listening to this and you need some help, or someone you love needs some help, please give us a call at 296-4444. Today's show is we're going to go a couple of different directions, but it's really on the front end of welcome back to school. Summer is coming to an end. School is starting back up. Some schools have already started. Some are starting next week. But get ready for that morning traffic to increase, and about that 3 p.m. traffic to increase in Santa Clarita. So give yourself a little bit of extra time in the morning if you're getting off to work, getting your kids to school. Be prepared for that, so you're not overwhelmed and frustrated when you're sitting in that traffic. And also something that I want everyone to prepare for is, when summer comes, many people take vacations. The kids are kind of like, teenagers are kind of like in a free for all where there's summertime parties, there's a lot of trips to the beach, there's camping trips, there's a lot of fun and excitement. But those who mess around with drugs and alcohol oftentimes find themselves during the summer getting out of control. But it usually doesn't come to our attention, or come to the parents' attention, or come to the school's attention until they are at a point where they have to reel it back in. So here we are at that point. We're going back into school. We're going to get our schedules. We're going to get prepared for all of that. And if you have been spending your summer, or your kid has been spending your summer messing around with drugs or alcohol, and you find that they can't reel it back in, what's going to happen is you're going to notice really quick. You're going to notice that they're staying up all night. They're not getting their homework done. They're not able to get to school on time. Maybe the school's going to notice that they're not doing their homework. They're not getting there on time, and they may be showing up under the influence. And so be prepared to start getting the calls from the schools, getting the calls from, we are prepared to get the calls from the parents and the schools. What happens for us as a treatment center is that school starts up this week. 2 weeks from now, our phones are going to be blowing up off the hook from calls from parents, from calls from schools, where the teenagers are showing signs of drug abuse and not being able to pull it together. Oftentimes with teenagers, so today I want to talk about what that looks like with teenagers specifically, although I don't want to single out anybody who's who's an adult that may have a drug or alcohol problem as well. If that's you, give us a call. If that's you, seek help. But today we're going to specifically focus on the teen aspect of our program. When we started the Way Out, and we decided that we were going to work with teenagers with all of our experience that we have over there, which is, personally, I have 13 years of experience working with teenagers and adults and people who have drug and alcohol issues. Our counselor, Melissa, over there has about 5 years doing the same. And then Brenda, who's an MFT, marriage family therapist, as well as certified drug and alcohol counselor, who's our clinical director. She also has about as much time as I do working directly with clients who have substance abuse and mental health issues. So we've been doing this for a little while, and we've been paying attention to the cycles and the cycle of starting back up with school and teen issues. With teenagers, one of the things that we notice is it doesn't always show up with drug and alcohol issues. Sometimes it shows up in relationship issues, in running away, in acting out with anger or violence, in acting out with self-harm, in acting out with eating disorders. So it's not all, and that's just a few different things. Sometimes some of the telltale signs that you'll see with teenagers is a change in friends, a change in clothing, a change in music, a disconnect from the family, isolation, mental health issues, some depressions or some anxieties, ADHD issues that are off the hook. So there's all kinds of stuff that goes on with teenagers. And let's face it, anybody who's out there who's listening that has successfully made it through your teen years, congratulations. I wouldn't go back there for $1 million, although there was a lot of fun times when I was a teenager. It is difficult. It is a really difficult transformational period in our lives. You got hormonal issues going on. You got physical changes going on. You got emotional issues and changes that are going on. It's the point in our life where we are learning how to separate in a healthy way from our families, learning how to be autonomous. Many of our first serious relationships start to take place in our teenage years, and there's just a lot of stressors. We have the expectation of maybe sports or school or, all that kind of stuff going on. And there's just a lot of pressure and a lot of stress in the teenage years. It's no coincidence that most drug use starts between the ages of 12 and 17. It's no coincidence that most drug addiction takes place and happens between the ages of 12 and 17. Many people find themselves turning into drug addicts or alcoholics later on, but many of those who have identified as drug addicts or alcoholics will look back and say to themselves that even in their teen years, they didn't use like other people. They didn't drink like other people. It was taking over their lives. A lot of times teenagers can't see it at the time, but later on in looking back, most drug addiction and most drug use takes place between the ages of 12 and 17. So it's a very dangerous time in our life. Something else that should be noted as well, because of the impulsivity of teenagers. So real quick, when it comes to our brain development, the last part of our brain to fully develop is the part of our brain that's called the prefrontal cortex, but it's the part of our brain that is responsible for all the abstract thoughts and all the abstract thinking. It's responsible for rational decision making, for healthy boundaries, for placing meaning and value on stuff, but it's also the part of our brain that is responsible for being able to control our impulses. The number one cause of death in teenage years are accidents. Kids do impulsive stuff, teenagers do impulsive stuff, and they get hurt, and sometimes they die as a result of that. Many of those accidents take place inside of vehicles. We take somebody, I don't know. it's probably too late to rethink this, but I almost think that we probably shouldn't drive until we're like 21 or 25, because we get behind the wheel of a car at 15 and a half, 16 years old, when our brain development is lacking, and we have this terrible impulse control, and we get behind the wheel of a car, and impulsively we do things like texting while driving, answering phone calls, excessive speed, not putting seatbelts on, other distracting things that happen while we're driving, and many tragic things happen as a result of that. So I think that I've taken and painted a picture of what it's like to be a teenager and how dangerous it can be. So when we were talking about opening the way out, we really took all that into consideration when working with teens. Our approach at the way out with our teenagers is we have a lot of traditional treatments and therapies that we use over there, like any other treatment center, but we also have a lot of out-of-the-box types of things that we do. With teenagers, if you try to sit them in a room for 3 hours at a time and have nothing but talk therapy, they're going to be bouncing off the walls. They're not going to be able to pay attention, and frankly, they're not going to get as much as they could if you were to do what we do. We take them outside hiking while we do our counseling. We have drum therapy while we do our counseling. We do family outings while we do our counseling. We implement yoga. If a kid shows up, and one of the things that I ask them is I say, what do you like to do? Many of them will say, for instance, one of my favorite things to do is go skating. We will go over and have a counseling session with our kids over at the skate park. We do out-of-the-box type of thinking like that because we want them to find things that they love to do in life that don't involve alcohol and drugs, that they are passionate about. Many of our teenagers that show up are very artistic. So they have a knack for drawing or painting or playing music or creating poetry or writing rap songs or other songs or whatever, and we encourage that kind of stuff. We break out the drums, we tell them to bring their instruments, and we play some music in there, and we use that music to write songs about how they're feeling, coping skills that they can use, things that they can do to pull out of the peer pressure that's going on and the many destructive things that take place in the teenage years. So, we have really effective teenage treatment over at the Way Out. And so I want to encourage you as school starts and some of the kids, are going to get in trouble, and we're going to get calls from the schools and calls from the parents. I want you to pay attention to that and give us a call. If we're not the right fit for you, cool. We will find you a really good therapist. We will find you a really good treatment center. We'll find you a really good community support that you can tap into, and so give us a call and we'll help all that we can with any of the issues that are going on. Something else that I want to say very briefly too is we have the contract with the West Side schools for the cadre voluntary drug testing. If your child is enrolled in the cadre program, the drug testing program in the Hart District, and they test positive, we don't talk to the schools about any of that. We directly call the parents. If you get a call from us, and we're talking to you about that, we offer free counseling session with that. So if your kid gets in trouble and we catch it early enough with drug testing, we can get you and your teenager in with us, and we can talk about what's going on, gauge the severity of what's going on, and try to get you the help that you need. So pay attention. If you're in the cadre program, you may get an email or a call from us offering free counseling to come in. So, in a short 10 or 15 minutes, I hope I've done enough to be able to kind of encompass what it's like to be a teenager and offer you guys the help you can. The next part of our show, that after we take a break, I touched on the impulsive behavior that oftentimes teenagers get into. And we have a very special guest that's guests that are going to come in and talk about a resource that is in our community that was born out of some tragedies called the Youth Grove. And there's an event coming up on September 5th called An Evening of Remembrance. So we're going to talk about the Youth Grove with Tom and Alice Reynolds, and we're going to talk about the Evening of Remembrance. We're going to give you guys dates and details about that, why that's in the Santa Clarita Valley, what the start of that looked like, and we want to invite everybody in Santa Clarita to come out and benefit from that awesome memorial that is in Central Park and from the event that's coming up called the Evening of Remembrance, so that we can raise awareness when it comes to unsafe driving practices, to try to cut down on the loss of lives for our teenagers and anybody else that's out there driving crazy, or maybe putting others in dangers or putting themselves in dangers. We really want to send a message that says, slow it down. Don't text while you're driving. Pay attention to what's going on so that we can help save some lives. My name's Bob Sharits. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour, and we will be back in a few minutes with Tom and Alice Reynolds, so stay put.
You're going places, and College of the Canyons can get you there. Didn't get into the school you applied to. Or maybe it's too expensive. Why not start at College of the Canyons, where it's only $46 per unit? COC also offers financial aid, classes that use free textbooks, and a promise program that allows qualifying full-time, first-time students to go to COC tuition-free their first year. Visit canyons.edu now. That's canyons.edu.
You choose your dry cleaner for convenience. Maybe it's time to choose a dry cleaner that is not only convenient, but does quality work at a reasonable price. Town Cleaners. They're in the center of our valley, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in Santa Clarita. Town Cleaners, a dry cleaner who goes the extra step. Their stringent quality control ensures the highest quality cleaning and pressing for your garments. And now through February, save 50% on all dry cleaning orders. Town Cleaners on Soledad and Rainbow Glen.
The Santa Clarita Artists Association has a new gallery in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Main and Railroad, right across from the Canyon Theater Guild. The gallery features our members' paintings, sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handcrafted gift items. Whether you're an art lover, buyer, or an artist wishing to join, visit our website at santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming events and exhibits, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Finding the right lawyer can be a challenge, but in Santa Clarita, there's no need to search when there's Hacker Law Group, Santa Clarita's premier litigation firm. Jeffrey Hacker has represented celebrities, financial institutions, accident victims, real estate developers, realtors, contractors, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other individuals and companies with their legal challenges. Mr. Hacker is one of Santa Clarita's leaders, consistently listed as one of our most influential. When everything is on the line and you need legal counseling, visit hackerlawgroup.com.
Your hometown station.
KHTS wants to help you save money. Go to shopkhts.com for half-price certificates to your favorite restaurants and businesses located right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. Huge savings on your favorite places. You can also buy them right here at the KHTS studio during business hours. Start saving now.
98.1 FM and AM 1220. Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I almost did it. To the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits. I am the program director at the Way Out. We are an intensive outpatient program located on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyon. If you or a loved one is struggling with substance abuse issues or mental health issues, please give us a call so we can help you find a fit that's good for you, either with us or somebody else. Our phone number is 296-4444. You can also schedule a confidential assessment, free of charge, of course, on our website, thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. So welcome back, everybody. If you're just joining us, I have in studio with me today Tom and Alice Reynolds. Hi, guys.
Hi, Bob.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on. You know, we were just talking a couple of times a year, Alice comes on. So last time you were here to talk about the Evening of Remembrance was a year ago. So,
Right.
And then December for Compassionate Friends as well.
Right.
So we have, in Santa Clarita, we have one of, in my opinion, the best resources and the best reminders and the best memorials for honoring people who have lost their lives under the age of
24.
years old in traffic collisions.
Correct.
And it's called the Youth Grove. It's in Central Park, and it's growing and growing and growing. Unfortunately, because each one of those stumps cut off represents a life that has been lost. But every year there's a special event that comes up over there. This year it is September 5th. Mm-hmm. Evening of Remembrance. Give us some details on the event itself, and we'll talk about that. We'll bring that up a couple of times during the show so everybody can show up there.
Okay, it's Evening of Remembrance. It starts off with a walk at 7 o'clock. Okay. It starts right there at the Youth Grove, and the walk is through the park, and that's for everyone in the park. The community is invited, anyone in the community, and it's to show the community that we want to spread the message of driving safe to kids, to adults alike. This year we're having the parents hold up a sign of their loved one that they lost to show everyone that person's name. So that's a little bit different this year, something that we're added. The parents are given a white rose to carry to represent their child as well. So that walk will walk through the park and end at the Youth Grove. And then after that, the ceremony or program will begin at 7:30. New also this year, the program will be at the field adjacent to the Youth Grove, where seats will be available this year.
So we would like to encourage everyone to show up at 7 o'clock. You know, the walk itself is a really powerful part of the entire evening and the entire presentation. And, you know, it's always with mixed emotions because, you know, it sucks that it has to be tragedies that give us, you know, the sort of oomph to get out and raise awareness. You know, the issues that come up, drug use, you know, driving unsafely, all the stuff that comes up, suicidality. You know, we should be talking about this stuff openly every day to raise awareness. But, you know, we don't until something horrible happens, and then we do. And so the mixed emotion is what a brave, you know, I can't imagine what it must be like to lose a child. I have no idea.
Yeah, you don't know until you lose one. I mean, you can imagine. I mean, but you don't know until you have lost one. I mean, losing a brother or sister or a mother and father is nothing compared to losing a child. Right. Absolutely nothing.
And so I know I've said this before, but thank you for your courage and your bravery, because I don't know what it must be like to stand up after falling down over losing your kids, you know, and to be able to publicly go out and say, hey, we're not going to let this tragedy, you know, be for nothing. Yeah. We're going to raise awareness so that other people don't have to lose their lives.
Yeah, it was hard at first. I mean, we lost our two sons in a terrible crash that killed 4 lives, and it was hard at first. But I want to send that message out there so that no other parent has to go through this nightmare. It's just devastating, and you know, parents and teens alike need to know that they have to be aware of what's going on out there, you know, every time they get behind the wheel.
And that was was that the same year that the Youth Grove was started?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Our sons were killed in the year of 2000. The Youth Grove wasn't started until the dedication ceremony was in 2006. Okay. We joined the Blue Ribbon Task Force shortly after our sons were killed, and it was actually a teenager's idea. Her best friend was killed in a alcohol-related crash, And she went to Frank Ferry, who was a council member, and she had the idea of it. It was actually a teenager's, and she went to this Blue Ribbon Committee and said, I have this idea. Frank Ferry came to the Blue Ribbon Task Force and said, what do you guys think about this? And we all said, this is a great idea.
Let's make it happen.
And then let's make this happen. And formed a subcommittee. We got an architect, worked on it. It took about 4 or 5 years to raise the money and get all the plans together and get it together. So it took a while.
And that was a 2-car crash with your sons, a 2-car crash. What was the cause of that? I just want to say that so people can.
Yeah, it was a car of 5 teenagers. Yeah. The driver was driving 100 miles an hour, lost control, and landed on top of another
on Soledad Canyon.
On Soledad Canyon.
Yeah, growing up out here, I'm always amazed at how many. I go, God, there used to never be all these stoplights, but now when you know about Soledad Canyon and you've grown up out here, without those stoplights, people tend to, even with the stoplights, like it tends to be a raceway, right? And so 100 miles an hour this kid was doing.
100 miles an hour.
With a car full of teenagers?
5 teens, all Canyon High students, all under the age of 18.
Yeah. And hit another car.
Went upside down, lost control, went upside down onto the other side of the road and killed an adult driver.
So the driver of the other car.
All 3 teens in the back seat were killed.
Wow. The message is, so pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. And let that be a reminder for those of you who get behind the wheel of your cars and want to rev the engine and go fast. It's not just yourself that you're putting in danger. It's everybody around you.
Absolutely.
And it takes a split second for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So slow down. Slow down.
Yeah, and it's not just speeding that, it's the texting, it's the, the crazy music, it's everything in a car. And not only the driver being crazy, you have to look out for everybody else on the road as well.
Right. A lot of times what comes up for us is our thing, like driving under the influence,
yes.
obviously, because we're drug and
obviously.
alcohol. But that is, and especially with teenagers, that is not necessarily the number one cause of car crashes, being under the influence with teenagers. Sometimes it is,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Unsafe speed, distracted driving is one of the biggest ones
Absolutely.
nowadays, Put your phone away.
Yes.
It can wait a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Pull over to the side of the road if you have to, if it can't wait, right?
I tell the kids to put that phone in the glove box.
Yeah.
Put it in the trunk. Take it away. Take that just temptation. Put it away.
It would be, it'd be neat if, and I don't know that it could happen, but it would be neat if there was somehow something in the newer cars that are being built that wouldn't allow you to use your phone while you're in that car.
Yeah.
People would, be outraged about it because they can't do business while I'm driving, but it would save a lot of lives, right?
Yeah, it would.
Like mandatory seatbelts did, right?
Yeah.
So when I who should come to the evening of remembrance?
The entire community. I mean, I would love it. Everyone in the entire community come, but parents with new drivers.
Oh wait, let me stop you right there because so we have a new school year coming up, and a lot of people. You're gonna have a lot of new teenage drivers. So let's take a moment to talk about what a great way to send a message to your teenager before they get behind the wheel of a car.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. Come out, see all of those tree stumps. We started the Youth Grove with 56 names.
Okay.
We are adding 2 new names this year. We will have 107 tree stumps out there right now. Their tree stumps represent each life that was lost. On top of that tree stump is a plaque with their name and forever young, whatever age they died at, forever
Right.
15, forever 16, and that's what they are.
God, that broke. I've been there a couple of times, but last year I was there, and we like to bring our clients over there and let them experience that. And I was sitting there, and by about the 3rd or 4th face that was shown, and forever, whatever age, 15 years old, and I just kept seeing this 15, 14, 16, and I just all of a sudden I realized I'm sobbing.
It's hard to take. Yeah. The slideshow is just, you just keep seeing those faces over and over again of all those beautiful kids that are forever young and never to grow old, like the trees that are surrounding it. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, and like like tragedies with drug addiction, when it comes to traffic collisions and driving fatalities, it's preventable.
Yes, absolutely. It's preventable.
It doesn't have to happen. And so when we do stuff like this, when we send the message that we're sending today, this absolutely helps cut down on those number of deaths.
Hopefully they go there and see the message about how many lives were lost, and they can go back to their car and they can visualize what they just saw at that youth grove, and that evening remembrance of those lives. They'll think about it and remember what they saw.
Okay, so who else should come? So new drivers, parents with new drivers. We're inviting the whole entire community, right?
Entire community coming out and see those faces and get the message.
The city of I don't know if it's a city or but anyway, the community court that's out here, right? They have, and maybe that is through the city, community courts have utilized the youth grove not as a punishment, but as a sort of a task for people who get in trouble as well. Talk about that for a minute. What goes on with that?
The community court has a program where teens, if I believe it's the first ticket, get a minor ticket. They have a program where they go to different classes, and part of the youth grove is one of those classes. They come up, and we do a class up there. And I believe they go to a reckless class where the emergency nurses do a class and the sheriffs do a class.
Okay.
So the youth growth is utilized for that. They come up there and they see all the tree stumps and they listen to video where the parents talk about their kids up there. So it's used for that as well. The Every 15 Minutes also uses the youth growth.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you think it helps these kids when they experience that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever gotten any feedback from the teenagers that go over there?
After our class, a lot of kids will come up and say, "Thank you very much. It really touched us," or Every 15 Minutes really says something to those sheriffs afterwards. Seeing all the kids that are up there. Yeah.
And Every 15 Minutes, do you know enough about that program to talk about it?
Yeah. We talk at the fair.
So what is the Every 15 Minutes program?
Every 15-minute program is at all the high schools where they put on a mock collision with drunk drivers, and the kids are kept overnight in a hotel, and it's a simulated alcohol crash. And it's pretty powerful. The kids really feel it, and they see their drunk driver goes to court. They go up to the cemetery. It's a real simulation of someone dying in an alcohol-related crash.
Well, and even it's even though they know that it's coming, when they simulate like the knock on the door. And the parents, and we're sorry to inform you, right? Or they go into the classroom and say, we want to let you know that so-and-so died today. Even though a classroom knows that that's coming, when it happens and you let that sink in, the emotions of that, even knowing that it's coming, you kind of get a feel for, oh my God, like this is a big deal that we don't think about all the time.
Right.
When we get behind the wheel of our car, we don't think about, I've had a couple of beers, or we don't think about I'm driving too fast, or I got to answer this text. We don't think about how quickly, you think about 100 miles an hour down the road, how very quickly tragedy can happen.
Yeah. Kids think they're invincible and it's not going to happen to them. That's what they think all the time. But they have to be made aware that it does happen. And I tell them all the time, you know what? Look at all these kids here that died. It does happen, and you will die, and you can die.
Right.
I ask them a lot of time when we have that community court, how many have you been in a car crash already? And almost half of them will raise their hand. And I say, you know what? You lived this time, but next time you may not.
Yeah. It used to be, traffic fatalities happen all the time, and when you mix drugs and alcohol, it makes even more prevalent of numbers. Drug overdoses are now neck and neck with traffic fatalities as well. And we hear about drug overdoses all the time, but we've kind of, the traffic collisions and fatalities have kind of taken a back seat to that, but the numbers haven't changed. It's still massive amounts. People are dying all the time, and most of the time it's because of things that could be prevented.
Absolutely.
Very rarely that a freak accident happens.
Well, that's why I don't call them accidents.
Right,
I call them collisions.
Yeah. When we used to do shows with the Highway Patrol and Officer Lutz,
Yes.
right? He would correct us on that.
Yes.
He would correct us on that
Yes.
because we're so used to going, oh, this traffic accident,
Yeah.
this traffic accident. And he would stop us all the time and go, it's not an accident. They're preventable.
Preventable.
And that was a big, I'm like, oh, he's right.
Yeah.
You know, if we take the time to put our seatbelt on, keep the music low enough where we can hear what's going on around us, put the phone in the glove box, make sure everybody else is seated in, not be under the influence, then it is absolutely preventable, right?
The driver that killed my son kept saying it was an accident, it was an accident. I said, no, I'm sorry. You chose to drive 100 miles an hour. You killed 4 people because of that. It's not an accident. You chose to drive 100 miles an hour. It's not an accident.
Yeah, parents pay attention to what you're, what you're teaching your kids when you're out there driving them around.
That's what my husband always said. He would say that all the time.
Yeah, I would tell them that your kids have been sitting behind you for 15 years, learning all your bad habits and good habits, but they learn that and they get behind the wheel and bad things happen. I'd like to also add that not all the kids up there were in a car. There's skateboarding, there's bicycle, there's motorcycle, a lot of motorcycles. So
Pedestrians,
it's some of the kids are 6, 7 years old.
Yeah.
They were riding in a family car and were T-boned at an intersection. So it's a graphic reminder of what can happen in a blink of an eye.
So September 5th, which is on a Wednesday. I love events that are in the middle of the week. They're easier to show up to and easier to plan. So Wednesdays and Thursdays are always good days for events. So it's on a Wednesday, September the 5th. Show up at 7 p.m. is when the walk starts. Get there a little bit early.
Yeah.
The Youth Grove itself is in the back of Central Park, so it's all the way. It's located basically in the middle, all the way in the back.
correct.
Go back there and walk with family members and parents and loved ones of the people who have lost their lives are going to be there. It's a walk of remembrance.
Correct.
So white roses, pictures of their loved ones. What happens after the walk? What can we expect?
Well, after the walk, like I said, the program starts at the field adjacent to the Youth Grove. There'll be opening remarks. We have teens that will be singing, and then we have the slideshow of the pictures of all the kids that are there. And then just a breaking of the glow sticks. We do glow sticks rather than live candles because of the fire hazard there. And then, like I said, just a few songs, and then closing remarks. A very short program because the slideshow is long. And then that's it. And then you can go back to the Youth Grove itself, and if you want to put the little light on the top of the tree stumps. And that's about it. And you can come just for the program if you want and skip the walk if that's what you want to do. You don't have to do the walk if you want to just come for the program.
Well, and sometimes the events, if a tragedy is fresh to a family, sometimes showing up to an event like this can be too much.
Yeah.
But the Youth Grove itself is out there all the time as a permanent memorial and as a permanent reminder. And so I would like to encourage for the benefit of healing through and getting in touch with the grieving process, I would like to encourage family members to just take a walk out there and sit in the middle of that youth grove and let the tears flow.
Yeah.
You know?
It was also built for parents. A lot of parents cremate their child, so they don't have a place to kind of go and remember them. So there's benches out there. We see a lot of parents just go there and sit and remember their child. Also was built for kids to, instead of going to roadside memorials, where sometimes those are very dangerous, it's for them to go and remember their friends and sit there and do that too as well. So.
Right. Speaking of grieving, so I want to get a little bit personal with you guys. After you lost your sons in 2000, how do you make it through something like that? How do you sit here today I can't imagine.
I'll tell you, to be honest, in the beginning it was tough. I can't talk for my husband, but personally I didn't want to go. I didn't want to live I didn't want to go on.
So close the curtains, leave me alone.
Yeah, my older son was 23. He didn't need me.
Right.
My two sons were 18 and 15, the two that were killed, and my older son was 23. He didn't need me, and I thought, my life, I don't need to go on. I really didn't want to live. I just wanted to go in my bedroom and hide. I really had a hard time to go on. I finally decided. Tim was a lifeguard. Danny wanted to be a fireman. He just passed his Fireman Explorer test. That's what he wanted to be. So they were both kind of in the fields of saving people. And I thought, okay, I need to do that. That's what I knew. I need to save these kids. So I reached out to the sheriff who was there that night with my sons, and he was in charge of the Every 15 Minutes program. Okay. So I thought, okay, maybe that's what I need to do. I need to save some of these kids and tell them they need to slow down. They need to drive safe. Maybe I can save some kids. Yeah. So I reached out to him and asked if I could speak at the Every 15 Minutes program. And I need to save some kids. So that's what I started with my pursuit. And that's, if I could save some kids, that's I could live.
We never are able to keep track of the lives that we save, but it's without a doubt that you can't put a number on that, right?
Can't.
But you can only imagine how many lives you guys have saved by having the courage to come out and do that. And do that. And so I'm sure that many, many people have said thank you to you guys, but I want to say that as well. Thank you for doing what you guys do. You are just incredible people, and you're helping a lot of people in the Santa Clarita Valley, and we need you. We need you. Yeah.
I have a phone number, and
please.
If you want information, the phone number is 661-250-3708. Or you can go on their website, which is santaclarita.com/youthgrove.
So once again, call. The phone number is 661-250-3708, and the website is santa-clarita.com/Youth Grove. So go to the Santa Clarita website and look up the Youth Grove, and you can find the event, all the details. But again, it's going to be on September the 5th on a Wednesday night, coming up real quick here. And 7 p.m. is the walk, and then 8 p.m.?
7:30.
7:30 is the program itself. It is powerful. It is moving. It is unlike anything you've ever experienced. And it is there for us to remember those lives lost, honor the families that are still left, and more than anything, to raise awareness so that when you or a loved one gets behind the wheel of a car, that you can be more present in your driving and not be distracted, not be going too fast, not be putting yourself and other people's lives in danger. So it is absolutely there to raise awareness and to save lives. And I want to encourage everybody to show up.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Tom, thanks for being here today. You want to say anything?
Yeah, I wanted to say, if you're familiar with the concerts in the park, the Youth Grove is adjacent to the stage.
Okay.
Just to the left of it.
Yep.
On the walkway.
So on the backside of where the concerts of the park are, on the backside of that field right there, is where the Youth Grove is. So go out there and check it out. Even if you can't make the event, take some time to walk through the park over there and see that awesome memorial, and just take a minute to be silent in the middle of that and let those feelings come in and feel, and remember those kids that have lost their lives, because it helps. It helps to raise that awareness so that we don't lose anymore.
Absolutely.
And bring those young drivers, those newly licensed drivers, it's a must.
Do they, real quick, do they do in the driver education programs or anything? They do anything like that? No. Oh, that'd be a great idea.
Great.
Have you guys ever appealed to them to try to do that?
We've advocated that all the drivers training schools would visit that as part of their curriculum. It's so impactful to see 107 names, all kids, and majority have probably said, can't happen to me. Well, here's 107 just from Santa Clarita.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great if the city or somebody could reach out to the different driver, the private organizations that do that, and give some kind of an incentive or something to do that. Wouldn't that be neat? Like we'll put your name on our website or something like that if you start doing this because I think that's one of the most important. Before they sit down in that car behind the wheel, the newly licensed drivers need to go over there and pay attention to what's going on. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Tom. Appreciate it. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a break. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour, and we will be right back.
Your building sign is essential in getting customers to your location. Feathers can help get your business noticed. They walk you through each phase of your building sign project, providing special attention to detail and quality. Feathers will give you a sign you can be proud of. Your building sign will draw customers in instead of having them drive by. Feathers on Soledad in Canyon Country, across from the Edwards Theater. Or go to feathersphoto.com. That's feathersphoto.com.
Hey, this is Ellen Kay, and did you know Exer More Than Urgent Care is open daily in Stevenson Ranch? Exer is the ER alternative that's built and staffed by ER doctors. With on-site lab, x-ray, and pharmacy, Exer has more medical services than a typical clinic. Walk in and be seen in minutes. Open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. For more information, just go to exerurgentcare.com. That's EXER urgentcare.com.
Hey there, I'm Tori with your hometown station weather. Mostly sunny this week with highs in the low to mid 90s, overnight lows in the upper 60s. Save the date for the SCV Chamber Latino Business Alliance Gala, Saturday, September 8th at 6 p.m. at the Newhall Family Theater for the Performing Arts. For more information, go to scvchamber.com. And for all things Santa Clarita Valley related, go to hometownstation.com.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and if you are just joining us, we just spent the last half an hour in studio with Tom and Alice Reynolds, and we are talking about an event that's coming up called the Evening of Remembrance on September the 5th at 7 p.m. So the program itself is at 7:30, but there's a walk for remembrance at 7 p.m. So we want to encourage everybody to show up, and especially those who have new drivers in the home. The event is it really has a threefold purpose. It is to honor and remember those who have lost their lives, kids under the age of 24 who have lost their lives because of traffic collisions, or they're all traffic fatalities. It is also to honor the families that have been left behind of these tragedies, and it is also to raise awareness so that we can help save some lives and really get you thinking about what you're doing when you're sitting behind the wheel. So something else that came up in between the breaks is I asked Alice if somebody has lost their life, what can the family do to become involved in Santa Clarita in the Youth Grove or the Evening of Remembrance? How does somebody get a stump over there to remember somebody?
Yeah, they just have to contact the city, that website that I gave out earlier. They just contact them, and there's a form that they just fill out. Has to be a parent. They fill it out and give it to the city, and then they review the application, and there's no cost whatsoever. The names and the tree stumps are only added once a year at the time of the Evening of Remembrance, so they only do it once a year.
Okay, so it is it's a wonderful way to honor your loved one if they've lost their life to a if they've been involved in a traffic fatality. It's a wonderful way to remember them and to honor them.
Oh, I did want to also say they had to be, a member of Santa Clarita, so they had to grow up and live here.
So a citizen of Santa Clarita.
Right.
If somebody, I kind of want to end with this. If someone is in the mourning or grieving process, if they've lost a loved one, whether it's a kid or otherwise, what kind of resources are out here in the Santa Clarita Valley to help someone get through that or to help them feel a little bit better so they're not closing the curtains and getting stuck in their house grieving by themselves?
Well, I'm a member or leader, I should say, of Compassionate Friends. It's a support group for parents who've lost a child for any reason. We meet once a month on the first Thursday of the month. It's a great group. It's put on by parents who lost children. It's not by any psychologist or anything. It's run by parents who've lost a child, so we know how you feel, and it's just by parents.
So Compassionate Friends is an awesome resource for anyone who has lost a child.
I lost a child for any reason, whether it's
reason.
traffic, collision, cancer, whatever, for any age. For any reason.
I know that Henry Mayo also has some grief support groups over there, and someone else that I wanna mention as well, a grief recovery specialist by the name of Sharon Brubaker, who's out here in our community. I don't have her information in front of us, but you can look her up. It's spelled just like it sounds, Sharon Brubaker. She is an awesome resource and has a grief recovery program as well. So if you're sitting here and this has brought something up, and it doesn't matter if it's now, if this is bringing up grieving from a loss from 10 or 20 years ago even, there are a lot of resources that are out here that can help you through the grieving process. Compassionate Friends, various grief support groups that are out here, and grief recovery specialists like Sharon Brubaker. So I want to put that out there in case this has brought any feelings up for people that have lost somebody that are in the grieving process as well.
Yeah,
so
you need to get it out, that's for sure.
Yeah, and be prepared for that. The Evening of Remembrance, September 5th, 7 p.m. is the walk, 7:30 is the program proper. We want to encourage everybody to come out and experience that. It is going to be an emotional night. It is appropriate for all ages. When I go over there, if it's possible, I like to bring my boys as well, and they're 6 and 9 years old, and I like them to see that now, so we can start having those conversations long before they get behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah, you don't have to know somebody that's there. You can just come and join us, absolutely, and it just show the community that you're there to spread the message of safe driving.
Yeah. And that's it. The community, it is the message of safe driving, and that's what it's all about. Tom, any last words before we get off the air here?
No.
Well, thank you for being here, today and doing this with your wife and supporting her and supporting the city of Santa Clarita and all those who have lost loved ones out here over these many years that you guys have been doing it. You're awesome. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you for having us here today.
All right.
Thanks,
guys. Thanks, Tom. This is Bob Sharits, Program Director of The Way Out. This is The Way Out Recovery Hour, and I hope everybody enjoyed this show, and we'll see you next time.